I'm Ben Gonzalez with the Texas Department of Insurance, and this is the Texas Insurance Podcast. On each episode, we look at an insurance topic, why it's important to you, and offer tips to help save you some money or protect your family or property. Today, we're talking about homes and home insurance. For most of us, one of the largest investments we'll ever make is buying a home, and insurance helps make sure that investment is protected from the unexpected. We spoke with Cindy Bulla, the past chair of Texas Realtors, about some of the aspects of home insurance that many new home buyers may not have even considered, and why it's so important to get some expert advice. What's important for home buyers to understand or know about insurance, especially those first-time home buyers?
So, Ben, as Texas Realtors, we're not insurance experts, but we are trained to know what questions to coach our buyers to ask their insurance agents who are the experts. And so most of us will have a list of questions that we urge our buyers to ask. And oftentimes the first and only question that's asked of those insurance experts is, what's the premium? But we know there's a lot more to it than just what's the premium.
Yeah, we always tell people that, premium is obviously important. If you can't afford it, you can't get it, but you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples with different policies. Another thing we always want to stress, or we do here at the Department of Insurance, is that, flood is not part of the standard homeowners policy. And do realtors hear other misconceptions from clients about insurance?
Ben, they do. And a lot of those misconceptions involve that flood coverage or the idea that they don't think they need it if they don't live on the coast, or if they don't live at or near a
flood
river
zone,
or stream or lake.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, and we coach them to have that conversation, that there's probably not a property in Texas that couldn't possibly flood. So we urge them to have that conversation. And as for misconceptions, there are many. That's why we have them talk about coverages and especially exclusions. A lot of times there's confusion about whether mold damage or water damage is covered. And another common misconception, we typically here in Texas oftentimes the seller will offer a service contract, or what we call a home warranty. And oftentimes these buyers get that confused with insurance coverage. So again, we coach them to talk to the experts in those fields and make sure they know what coverages they have, and especially what coverages they don't have.
Wow, you guys are really partners for us. Those are kind of the same things that we want to tell people about as well. And so point them to our website. We have stuff about the warranty versus insurance. So I'm sure a lot of clients want to know where the schools are, where the grocery stores are, and what kind of amenities are around the property. Do they ever ask about safety issues like access or fire stations?
So it's been my experience that they rarely do ask that question until frequently when they're outside the city limits, they're purchasing thinking one of the benefits of that is no city taxes. But let's say they call their insurance agent and they get a much higher quote than they were expecting. That's when they would ask the question. And of course, we coach them to go back to the agent and discuss the risk model that was used to come up with that premium. And frequently that's when they discover the absence or the distance or proximity of those safety features.
Yeah, the insurance agent is going to be your best source on a lot of that. So we encourage people to ask questions for sure.
Absolutely. Oftentimes we underestimate. Of course, we as realtors know the value of a professional because we know what we do in our profession, but we also understand what we don't know. So we like to be the source of the source and guide them to those professionals in their fields. And we typically underestimate the value of a really good insurance agent until we get into those questions.
Do you ever encourage clients to look at a C.L.U.E report to see if there's been other claims on a property?
Absolutely. Frequently, we will have them do that first. We will have them contact that agent and do it first. And so what we do is we coach a buyer as soon as they're under contract within that option period to do all the least expensive or the no cost things first, all of the homework and background that we need to do on those properties first. And one of those things would be a C.L.U.E report, which is free and gives them an idea about past claims so that they can ask about not only about how that will affect the premium on the new policy, but they can ask about the work that was done, whether warranties came with that work, and all the things that would go with the conversation regarding a repair or a fix or a damage that occurred previously that you might not be able to see.
Right. So that could either be a red flag, a non-starter, or something that you use as information.
Exactly.
Anything else about insurance that you wish more people knew or find it interesting?
Just that it's a lot more complicated than it sounds. It's more than a premium. It's very complicated. And so I wish people would, and again, we coach them to do that, would shop for their insurance like they shop for their realtor or they shop for their other large investments, because even though the premium might not be large in the big scheme of things, it's huge when it comes claim time. You've got to make sure you have the right coverage at the right time for the right risk.
Yeah, and I guess as we were talking about earlier, finding out how much the insurance costs are going to be is going to weigh into how much house you can afford.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Ben, because it is huge. The prices are going up and up and up due to low supply and high demand. And it's beginning to price our Texas wage earners out of the market because we just don't have enough supply. So what we look at are all the cost components of owning a home, and that includes property taxes. That's the one that typically takes the most oxygen in the room. But then you look at insurance costs, and it's critical. So as Texans, and certainly as Texas realtors, part of our job is to inform Texans about all those components of affordability and make sure that we work together to keep those rates as low as we can by mitigating losses and watching for risks components and really working together with our fellow Texans and with TDI to make sure that we keep insurance as affordable as it can be for the coverage and the risk that we have here in Texas.
And certainly if people have never had to buy home insurance in the past, Texas has all the risks out there with, hail, tornadoes, floods. So it's going to be, it could be a surprise.
Hurricanes brings me to something we didn't talk about, and that is the Texas windstorm insurance.
Oh, sure.
And that adds a component to a certain number of coastal counties. It's yet another insurance policy and therefore yet another insurance premium. And in some of those areas, it's a pretty significant premium that adds to the cost of owning a home in those areas. And there's a lot of confusion among our consumers and about what covers what, where the TWIA policy stops and the flood policy starts, and how the homeowner's policy fits within that. And it's just another argument for why you need a really knowledgeable agent to sort of guide you through that and know what your coverages are when you buy the policy and what your rights are when you need to use that policy.
If you're shopping for a home, make sure to add these to the list of questions about any property you're considering, because the answers could affect how much you'll pay for home insurance. How far away are emergency services, like fire departments? Is it a paid fire station or a volunteer fire department? Is the home in an area that has flooded in the past? Remember, flood is not covered by most home insurance. You'll need a separate flood policy to cover rising water. Have there been past insurance claims on this home? Ask for a C.L.U.E report that shows claims filed for a property over the past 7 years. And then ask if the home has any features that could help reduce its risk of future claims. Is the roof new? Does the home have an alarm system or fire sprinklers? Those are features that could earn you a discount with your insurance company. Well, that's it for today. If you need more information about home insurance, visit our website at tdi.texas.gov. You can also call our helpline at 800-252-3439 to ask your insurance questions. And be sure to subscribe to the Texas Insurance Podcast, wherever you get podcasts, so you don't miss out on any of this important information. We'll talk to you next time.